Get the word out. You know how I like to do this. I pop the word out on social media before we get started. And then we will fire up whether the chat fills up or not, because this is more like a podcast for me anyway. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I'm your host, Kalari GXC, and we have a lot to talk about. I kicked it off on X, and I'm not going to stop saying this. There are a lot of bad faith actors out there, and I hate to have to open up addressing this yet again. But with an election season that has been so volatile, and with the stakes being this high, I can't afford to play nice with everybody, so I'm not. I didn't come back to Twitter to be nice to everybody, so I'm not. I'm here to bring facts to the factos intolerant. I am here to clap back against lies and slander and people who refuse to do the bare minimum to keep our country out of the hands of wannabe dictators. I'm here to be a person that calls out lies and holds people accountable no matter what party affiliation, but definitely when they are the party trying to lead us into literal fascism. And I did a short today on Twitter. Hi, Pix. It's good to see you. I love sharing your artwork. I did a community tab post. I had shared it on Twitter. I love it. You captured me, so I really appreciate you. And I will be using the talking point that you had sent me on the phone last night too, because it all fits into what we're going to talk about today. But as I was saying, we legitimately did a short on Twitter earlier, not even an hour ago, because I was feeling a certain way. I had done my exercise, I got out of the shower, and I just kept thinking about it. And I was just like, we are getting a lot of people in our Twitter mentions and friends' Twitter mentions. Anybody who has like a K-Hive symbol or Kamala Harris or anything supporting this current campaign has been inundated by people who want to say they don't care about Palestinian, they're going to drone babies, and other asinine things. They wanted to ding us when we enjoyed her saying, "Stop, I'm speaking," to very loud, rude protesters here in Michigan. They want to get mad at us when we point out that Muslim leaders have had the opportunity to meet with the Biden-Harris administration and continuously turn it down, when the last administration literally rounded up Muslim people and put them on watch lists and want a more expanded watch list when they get it in 2025. So when I say what I'm about to say comes straight from the heart, and I'm not going to pull any fucking punches, it does. Welcome to the chat, Celeste. It's good to see you. I don't want war. I'm not saying this as a peacenik. I'm not saying this as if conflicts don't have justification sometimes, like what's going on in Ukraine that's literally been invaded. But if you ask me, you had asked me when I was a child if I had thought constant war would be in our future when we have technology, when we can see things in 4K. I would have told you were crazy. Why would we need this? And even as I literally in the second novel deal with conflict, I realized that it doesn't make sense. We humans have so much ability for good, but continuously lean into the evil. And it's frustrating because the evil people want you to pretend like they're not being evil. They want you to look away. And with what's going on with Palestine and Israel right now is almost 100-year conflict that nobody, as far as I'm concerned, is right in at this point. There's blood, innocent blood on both sides. Hostages from Israel being taken that no matter how mad you are, the moment you allow your government to take innocent hostages to hold, to murder, that's not okay. But on the flip side, Israel, it wasn't okay to literally have Palestinian people living in horrible, awful conditions where they don't know if food is going to be scarce because of literal roadblocks, where they could be harassed by your IDF soldiers, where they do not know whether or not this conflict is ever going to end. Shelling, mothers giving to birth to babies on the roadside because you set up illegal roadblocks preventing them from adequate health care. Water scarcities being a constant problem. You had literal 2-state accords drafted, and you continuously did what you could to sabotage them. And Netanyahu is way not better than the Hamas government either. Because if you follow the money trail, as John Oliver has succinctly pointed out in his last week tonight, it's very sketchy. But you want people to pick sides. You want people to care when most of us just want y'all to stop fucking fighting. Stop trying to prove which sides you use are right and fucking settle this. Where Palestinian people can live in peace and Israeli people can live in peace. No more bombing people because you think you're martyrs. No more harassing people because they were living there first. No more taking their land, creating little fucking populations to say, well, it's a good neighborhood for us. Of course, we kind of feel bad for the people that we got fenced in. But, it's a good neighborhood for us. There is no good guys in this conflict as far as I'm concerned. I don't care how that makes me look to anybody at this point. It is frustrating. You're asking my black ass, who has to worry about my son in my own fucking soil, who has to worry about literally having a dictator lead all of us into our demise, to pick a side in a conflict that has been going on since before I was born. That when we give you the opportunities to speak to us, to be heard, you refuse. And then you want us to elect this motherfucker who this headline says pretty clear what Trump's idea for yous would be. Let me get this up for interaction. Because it's really funny that you think that Biden and Harris are bad for business for yous, when this motherfucker has gone on the record yesterday in that abysmal, what do they call those shits on Twitter? I used to go and sit in some of them for time to time, but they're kind of like the pods we have on Spoutable, but not as good. I said what I said. And they're just a gathering that has to literally verbally fellatio Trump. And one of the things that came out of that verbal fellatio was Trump's plan to quell protests, deport pro-Hamas radicals. And that means if you're Muslim American, if you're one of the African Americans that got rounded into this, if you're just somebody who feels awful for the people who are constantly in a state of, they're on the low end with this conflict. And it's not the Hamas leaders. It is literally Palestinian people who have already lived with fear and squalor and everything taken from them or closely guarded by a hostile entity. So for those of you who think, oh, a lot of you don't even understand or don't know what you're talking about, we do. But I also realize that even though there are innocents on the Palestinian side, there are also innocents on the Israeli side. And that I am fucking tired of being told to take a side. Because this shit's been going on too fucking long. And the man that you think is better than the Harris-Biden administration, or the Biden-Harris, sorry, I'm jumping the gun, because it's going to be Harris-Waltz, wants you all fucking deported. But do go on in our comments and mentions talking about how we're pro-bombing babies, you fucking morons. I'm over it. I'm not here to play nice, and I've said it. I'm not here to coddle people when we have serious shit going on, here and abroad, and where geopolitics is not nuanced or simple. Since October 7th, Hamas terrorist attacks on Israel, which was the initial attack which took hostages. Donald Trump and other senior GOP leaders have repeatedly called for the Biden administration to revoke visa status of foreign nationals in the U.S., which would be fucking illegal, but this is how the GOP operates. Who openly supported Hamas or other U.S. designated terrorist organizations, and I'm going to stop them right there because there are not people saying that they're pro-Hamas that they want to take. They want to get rid of any Muslim that supports the Palestinian people. There's a difference between supporting the families that have been ripped a fuck apart by the violence, the mothers who are suffering because they're being bombed, and the people who don't get water and resources anymore because of this conflict, and support Hamas. But people don't want that. Conflict is good for views. Conflict is good for clicks. So of course they would frame it, like the GOP says, as an absolute. That anybody who is for the Palestinian people are automatically for the terrorist cell known as Hamas. And this is why this shit ain't nuanced. This is what we have to navigate, y'all. But these protesters don't want to hear it. They just want to yell and be loud, and they just want everybody to hear them. But when we tell you to come to the table and listen and dialogue, you don't want to fucking do it. But you want to back this guy, who all of the GOP has pretty much said, we want to round you up. We want to get you out of this country, even if you were born here. But do go on about the other side. And in fact, if you think, Tin, you're just saying that. Nope. Let me bop this up. Because too many people like to think that, oh, Dems are just talking out their ass, or other racist stuff. Like, oh, you're on the plantation. Or other really disgusting racist stuff that I got to see all weekend from you fuckers. Who think we should all just be out there yelling about stuff instead of doing things. And having actual actions that will help instead of harm. But do go on yelling your hearts out. When we're all covering the DNC, because some of us got clearance for that, even my crazy ass. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. And everybody who reaches out for stuff like that. They understand that we can't rely on our fourth estate. So they've been reaching out to content creators with platforms on Twitter, with platforms on YouTube, with platforms, period. Because this is going to take all of us, and it's going to be a grassroots thing. And we believe action leads to better. I'm not anti-protest. I grew up with parents who marched, grandparents who march for civil rights, who march protesting wars and stuff. Y'all just want to pivot off of our back without realizing that while we can care about the conflict, we understand the protocols that our country has to adhere to. We understand that while it doesn't seem fair, VP Harris has gone on record saying that she, once elected, would go to push and make sure that Netanyahu understands the ceasefire is what we want. But you don't want to hear it because it's coming out the mouth of a black woman. She and President Biden has opened up the tables for a conflict resolution and dialogue with people who are directly impacted by this, and they keep telling them no. And Arab American community leaders postponed the meetings with Harris amid concerns, they said. And this was in February of this year. So this isn't old news. These people have had an open door. And I remember because there was a big faction in Traverse City who just outright refused when President Biden came, and then refused again when VP Harris came here to open up dialogue to even respond in a way that was feasible. Y'all say you care about what's going on with your brothers and sisters in Palestine. Yet the one path you have of actually getting this taken seriously, of actually having a ceasefire happening, nope, they're not doing it the way we want. They're not doing it fast enough. They're not navigating this almost 100-year conflict in the way we want them to. So instead, we're going to yell. We're going to scream. We're going to burn things. We're going to act the fucking fool. You black people did it when you wanted to take those racist statues down, the Civil War veterans. We're just emulating you. But you know what? When we stopped protesting those statues, we got them taken down. When we sat at the table with President Biden, we got things done. Is it perfect? No, we still have a lot to do for our communities. But we realize that the other guy wants to literally have a license to kill us protesters whenever a black brother and sister fall. Whenever we happen to say BLM. So we're kind of in a quandary here. And you want to push us in a way that would not only tank a joyful, historically making campaign that would open doors towards actual peace talks for a man who literally said that his point of view is y'all deserve to be rounded up and deported. And he has done it before. So I'm just not following why you won't go through that open door that the Biden-Harris administration has offered you repeatedly if you cared about peace going on in the Middle East. But you don't care. It's pretty clear as we watch Iran say, yep, we're probably going to get involved in this now. As we continue to see footage of shell-shocked babies, of dead bodies in Palestine, as we continue to hear news reports of hostages being killed from Israel, as it reminds us of shit that we have seen since we were kids with this conflict. Aren't you tired of not allowing for actual peace talks to come about? Aren't you tired of elected officials who find this conflict lucrative, who find wanting to snuff out one side tiring? And yet you call upon everybody to have your back when none of yous really had ours. And I know that's been the narrative floating around your TikToks and shit too. We've had your back during the BLM protest. You need to have ours. So it's a quid pro quo now? I'm tired of this. I'm on the side of peace. I've said it before and I will not stop saying it. I don't care who's wrong or right in this situation. As far as I'm concerned, there's too much blood on both sides' hands for me to pick a definitive right. I'm just tired of seeing children growing up like this, indoctrinated into the ranks of hate, being foot soldiers for the fuckery that is bigotry on both sides. And if we are going to get anywhere, we need to stop protesting the people who actually want to listen to you and take that shit over to the other side. But oh no, they'll just be violent with us. They won't hear us anyway. It would make his rallies look bigger if anything. But you're showing yourself when you do shit like this. It said, Vice President Kamala Harris's plans to meet with the leaders of Arab American community were abruptly postponed this week as leaders decided not to move forward, according to two sources familiar with the situation, marking this as the latest sign in the obstacles the administration faced in trying to make inroads with the community. And I don't have to read this whole article. There is documented proof that every time this administration has opened the door and said, come, talk to us. Let's see what we can branch out. Let's see how we can navigate this together to at least try to get ceasefire on the table with Netanyahu. Because as it stands, the ball is really in his hands right now, as much as none of us like that shit. But y'all don't want to hear it. Some of yous, I really think that we should just send our troops in and fuck everybody up. That's what Trump would do. You just don't care. Because it's never been about being right. It's about being heard. It's about being the loudest. It's about just seeming like you care. Because if you did, you would handle things like natural adults would handle stuff. Instead of being big-ass babies. We're going to move on to this nonsense because, like a lot of people, I logged on to Twitter last night and I seen about 7:30 that there was going to be a literal blackout because this doofus apartheid edgelord wanted to literally verbally fellatiate 45, and I wasn't interested anyway. I still got editing and read back of the second novel to do, so it was really easy for me to dip out. But I said, Trump rehashes familiar talking points about immigrants, their new boogeyman, and I'm about to go on a tangent about that, with Elon Musk. Because hate is all they have. Hate is their message. And some of you are just down for drinking that hate Kool-Aid. It is plagued with tech issues too. The man paid $44 billion and couldn't even get his little cast to run right. So let's play this.
Rocky start. That conversation was...
Let me go tap it back just a little bit.
Conversation with Elon Musk that was hampered by technical issues. Rachel Scott is tracking the race. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, George, good morning to you.
I love they keep using Rachel.
A very rocky start. That conversation was delayed by more than 40 minutes because of those tech issues. Elon Musk said he wanted to have this conversation so that the former president could appeal to independent voters, but Trump fell into a very familiar pattern of controversial statements, insults, and attacks.
Yep. Here we go.
Overnight, Donald Trump's botch returned to the platform that once banished him for posting false claims about the election. The company saying
yelling
at
at his
the account
phone
was permanently suspended due to the risk of further incitement of violence. It was reinstated by...
Of course, and he used a poll to reinstate him. Like I said, I don't like the way Jack did us dirty with this fucking $44 billion bag grab that he got, giving it to the apostate edgelord to run it into the ground. But when Jack was in charge, he realized that Donald Trump was a fucking danger, not just to our country, but to several countries. And he banned him, rightfully so. And then this motherfucker comes around throwing money everywhere, talking about the woke mind virus like a bigot he is. and did a poll that a lot of us said, we don't want that motherfucker back, and decided, nope, I'm going to bring that motherfucker back. Because he thinks that in the 2025 dictatorship that 45 of his cronies wanted to bring, that somehow he would be given this cabinet spot or this think tank spot so that he can push his agendas. Frauds like fraud. Shitbirds of a feather flock together. Oh yeah, he did, Pluto and Pix there. He did a lot. And like I said, I wasn't on Twitter last night. I did the blackout. I focused on my writing and stuff. It was a nice break. I even got that lovely picture you sent me that you did of me. So I was in a good mood. Because I did not need to be on that platform for their bullshit. And I think a lot of people did it. A lot of people didn't. They sat through it and they regretted it. But I'm saying, it wasn't that hard for me to avoid this nonsense.
Elon Musk in November of 2022, when Musk bought the company. Trump returning to the conversation Monday for a conversation with Musk. Technical issues delaying it from the start for more than 40 minutes.
It's shitty, Musk just like his rallies.
A denial of service attack, a kind of cyber attack that floods a server with traffic to force it offline.
Nobody did a DDoS. Stop lying.
Opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say. Though we provided.
We don't want to hear what Rambling Grandpa has to say because we're not racist MAGA. It wasn't a DDoS attack. A lot of people have said they've had problems with those streams that he does. He has fired so many people that handle the technical side of Twitter because he doesn't pay his bills. So, of course, they had those issues. Musk is so full of fucking shit. And, yeah, I legitimately picked for 2 years. To the point that this comeback, because I'm working within the campaign's parameters, they want people with platforms to use their platforms to keep spreading the word, helping with voter initiatives and stuff. That's the only reason why I unlocked, dusted the digital cobwebs off my Twitter. Because I'm here to tell it like it is. Point blank. But when I say Twitter is literally a cesspool of people who just want to fight, even today, one of my dear friends, Michelle, said she called Dan Rather Grandpa. Because a lot of us call our elders grandpa, grandma, when we hold them in high regard. This one lady from a certain demographic thought, she's being offensive to Dan Rather. I'm going to unfollow like it's a fucking airport. You realize how many times, if I put a nickel, not even a fucking dime or a dollar, for every time a motherfucker on Twitter in the 10 years I've been on Twitter, before my 2-year break, said, I'm unfollowing you. It's not an airport. Leave. Don't come back, especially if you don't have good reading comprehension. But Michelle even said, just because some of you use the term grandpa as an attack on people because you don't respect your elders, does not mean black women like us who call certain newscasters who are senior, grandma or grandpa, are doing it to offend them. Now, if it's like me and I call a certain person Magic Grandpa, if I have a little thing in front of them and I'm being sassy, yeah, I could be insulting them. But for somebody who is sweet as my friend is, who is just being nice about Dan Rather, it just goes to show that people just want to fight on Twitter. And unfortunately for them, I'm a bitch. I'll tussle with you for a bit and then I'll put you in the mute bin so I don't have to see you no more. Because it's funny for me.
There's no evidence of such a cyber attack.
All right, hello everyone.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Spoutable is such a breath of fresh air, Pix. I go on there, I share things, I talk with people. It just feels like it's social in social media instead of social media to gain numbers and popularity and who's saying what, or to fight with people because we have very differences of opinion, or people who just read what they want to read into your words and not actually read what you put out there. It is very frustrating to be back on Twitter, and I don't know after November if I'm going to continue on, but hopefully this campaign will energize people to bring more hope and joy into their social media. Twitter's always going to be Twitter, though. That's why I'm glad I have a backup that it's just like relaxing to go to after a couple of hours in the mud on Twitter.
My apologies for the late start.
And I am not calling it X.
Saying details not available. Those who were able to get into the live stream.
Oh, spaces is what they call it.
Then silence. Saying more than 1 million people eventually signed on.
Wow, that's sad.
You got a lot of people listening.
Musk said he wanted Trump to reach open-minded independence.
It's always about numbers with people like that. It's kind of like that in Girl World, too. People care about numbers. They don't care about building actual communities, the people that you want to talk to and want to talk with you. It's always about them numbers. And I can't be about that. One of the things I've always liked about Twitch is that it's such an intimate setting for this that is actively like a podcast for me. That I can actually see when people are chatting at me and respond. And I don't always get it. Especially with the Girl World stuff on YouTube. The more people that chat, the more people I miss. It's not about numbers for some of us. It is about having communities that we want to interact with and learn from and teach things to. And with the GOP has been fairly clear. And I'm going to get to more of that in the rant that I have about their hierarchies later on.
Independent voters, kicking off the conversation by asking Trump about the attempt on his life.
There was a data breach, and Christopher Bouzy was very upfront when it happened, and a lot of people wanted to ding him on it because, of course, a man of color creating a social media platform is an easy target. It did not last long. They were able to stabilize it and let anybody who was affected by it know immediately. We changed our passwords, we changed access to make sure nobody could use our stuff to get in. There are a lot of companies that have gone through data breaches that don't even let people know until years after that our information has been compromised. I think the way it was handled in February was well done. And I don't just say this as an investor because I'm upfront. I am an investor in Spoutable. So I have very financial reasons along with personal reasons for why I want to see succeed. But there are way too many hit pieces because they want Spoutable to tank. Because they want more sites like Twitter where people can just be nasty to each other to thrive. And I'm sorry, I've never felt unsafe having my stuff on Spoutable. And I will continue to prop that site up because it really does feel like social media again. It feels like something that I don't mind getting up to in the morning and reading and posting and spouting off. And once I have the time, starting my own pods, because I would rather do a pod than a space.
Life.
What was it like for you?
Not pleasant. I have to be honest. I said there was blood.
It wasn't that funny, Elon. Calm it down. Don't cream yourself.
Over 2 hours, the former president drifted into bringing up false claims, insults, and controversial statements. Trump praising his relationships with authoritarian leaders, saying he got along well with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
Nobody gets along with Kim Jong-un. Nobody. Not even this doofus that you suck his dick all the time. Yet Trump will literally fucking cuddle up to men like Kim Jong-un. It makes sense that everybody who is worried about this man ushering us into a fascist theocracy wants to make sure that doesn't happen. But Elon Musk thinks we're just the resistance. You do realize that in most stories, the resistance are people who want better for all of us, yet you're villainizing us, apartheid edgelord? And okay, Pix, once you do, yeah, Willie Brown called out his lies too. Once you do, I'm on there as Kalari, I believe, gamer chick there too. But you'll find me, people re-echo a lot of my crazy stuff, too.
I got along with Kim Jong-un. We had dinner, we had everything, and he really liked me, and I got along with him.
Trump also describing a conversation he had with Putin about invading Ukraine, saying he told him not to invade.
Lies.
The former president laying
he
out what
was
he would do
just in the debate. If I had listened to all of this before I went live, I could have pulled up the clip that I made of the debates. It's on the other computer. That during the debate with President Biden, he said, I told that man to go on and do it. He's literally been captured in interviews saying that he told Putin to go on and invade the Ukraine. Now, all of a sudden, Donnie Walkback wants to say, nope, I told him not to do it. What? Okay, whatever, dum-dum.
Elected, insisting one of his first acts would be shutting down the Department of Education.
I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states, where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, not every state will do great.
I don't even understand what's going on with his voice either. Like, you want to completely get rid of the Department of Education, which was already struggling since No Child Left Behind put in by fucking George Bush Jr. George W. Bush, I guess. My brain just spasmed there because he praises Iowa, who I'm pretty sure isn't going to vote your way, Trump. I hope you realize that. You want to praise these red basket states, as we like to call them, for how they handle education. Some of these states like Louisiana and Texas who want to put Bible stuff in public schools, which are open to every walk of life and wouldn't be fair to students who do not worship the way they do. He thinks he's playing people with this nonsense rhetoric, but he wants education to tank. He wants indoctrination because the only way to get loyal foot soldiers for fuckery is to tank the Department of Education. Because, how dare they tell people to stop bullying? How dare they teach kids to recognize the horrors of our historical past so that we don't repeat them in the future? Oh, no, that's too woke. Let a kid be comfortable being who they are if they're trans or LGBT. Nope. We can't have that. It goes against our hateful agenda. Red flag, red flag. No. Just showing you that you will try to harm us on a fundamental level. And I'm sorry. As a black parent, a lot of us have been taking our kids out of the traditional school thing and teaching them ourselves anyway. So you're not going to stop us. We'll just group together with other parents of different ethnicities who don't want to go to the new religious fundamental bullshit schools of yours. And we'll educate our kids ourselves. Because we always find a way to keep our kids' eyes open.
Where I need an Elon Musk. I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states.
This is like he said about, and not to interrupt the VP Harris part, this is what he tried to say about women's rights when they repealed Dobbs. Made it harder for people to get medications even that they need to survive because it could potentially cause miscarriage. Side with states who have those weird-ass heartbeat bills and want to literally stop women when we're crossing borders into states if we happen to be pregnant, or even if we don't, to check us. This is the bullshit that he keeps saying, we want to give it back to the states. Some of the states have fucked up. I'm telling you, when I lived in North Carolina, which I love that state, but it had its faults. When I applied to homeschool kiddo, I didn't have to do much but register myself as a school. They didn't know if I was really able to teach my son or have the educational background to do it. It's probably one of the easiest states to pull your kid out of and register yourself as a homeschool, which is what a lot of abusive parents do as well. The whole reason why I did it for kiddo before putting him in the Cyber Academy, which was way better and way more traceable and could give you a valid diploma, was because we had active school drills and a shooter on the premises of one of his schools. And I was done being scared of potentially sending my kid to school and not having them come home because of that shit. But there are plenty of parents who abuse that system. And we don't want them to have control over that. And we want public schools to get funded. We want teachers to actually be able to afford to do the careers they love. But in a GOP-led America, that's not going to happen.
Campaign highlighting that clip on social media and responding to the interview saying Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself, self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year of 2024. Here's campaign also accusing Trump of slurring his words. The former president brushing off dire warnings about the impact of climate change, saying rising sea levels will lead to, quote, more oceanfront property. And he promised the largest deportation in history, attacking Vice President Kamala Harris on the administration's handling of the border, calling migrants non-productive people. Trump casting Harris...
We are not going to keep pushing migrants as a boogeyman. I watched something yesterday where this rambling, probably like speed freak motherfucker was talking about Haitians coming over and Mexicans coming over. They have gotten a hate grip on most of their followers because they have to have a boogeyman. In their world, it's all about hierarchy. And they don't care if their dream of getting rid of all of us, black, brown, Asian, Latino, LGBTQIA, if you got rid of all of us you deem different and against your morals, y'all would cannibalize each other because you have to feel better than somebody. It'll be the fat white people first because you got to mock somebody on appearance. Next, it'll be the poor white people that you utilize when you want to talk about racism, ignoring the fact that the really racist people have the deeper pockets. But y'all let yourself be played and be used as scapegoats by those fat cats. You will always find people to be your next boogeyman, even if you got rid of all the Muslims, all the Jews, all the atheists, all the Hindus, all the Sikhs, all the pagans like my ass. If you got rid of all of us that's supposed to be your enemy, even though you thump a Bible that tells you not to make enemy or to love thy enemy, even though you claim to worship a deity that sent their firstborn child to preach to you about peace, love, and understanding, and got vilified and fucking crucified for it, literally. You want us to believe all of your magical and mythological stories, but yeah, you go against your very basic tenets as you watch Fox News that tells you to hate anybody different than you and uplift only people that look like you, chase that wealth. And if you don't have enough wealth, be prepared to be cannibalized, because if they get rid of all of us, all you will have is each other to attack. Remember that.
As liberal and attacking Jewish people who support her, repeating claims that have been widely called anti-Semitic.
Yep.
And I say, if you're a Jewish person, or if you believe in Israel, if you're a person that, is very pro-Israel, if you vote for her, it's worse than Biden. And Biden was bad. But if you vote for her, you ought to have your head examined.
Also, at one point, saying the new Time magazine cover of Harris looks like his wife.
I saw a picture of her.
Yeah.
What? No. Unless, I almost called her Matilda. Melania, whatever the fuck her name is, went to get more facial reconstruction to do it. Don't insult VP Harris like that. Nope, we're done with this one because I ain't got all day, and I'm not trying to indulge in the old man rambling's fantasies. But we'll get to something a bit funny, because his Montana rally was already a shit show. So as much as the shit show on Twitter was bad, his Montana rally was really bad. He decided to use a specific song during that rally, the theme from Titanic. So Celine Dion had the perfect response to that. And really, that song? Because it doesn't make sense that they would use My Heart Will Go On for a rally about politics. And I'm so glad that Celine clapped back. Now let's see if they got that one thing. In no way is the use authorized. The Celine Dion does not endorse in any similar use. And really, that song? Like, she has a ton of songs that potentially could have got used. But unlike VP Harris, who has Beyonce's permission to use her music, which I love that. I love that. And I'm hoping that Kendrick and a few others that have really inspiring tunes allows VP Harris to use their music too, because their campaign will ask for said permission. But I really love how Trump has been shut down by Isaac Hayes' family for using his music. The Village People. Half of Aerosmith, because Steven Tyler's a fucking wreck. Tenacious D, which I know people want to get on, but I'm with you, Kyle Glass. I will always support you. But the fact that you literally used the Celine Dion's Titanic theme for a tanking campaign, because your boy, the guy that you picked as your running mate, and I even told the conservative family members I have, that wasn't a bright move on Trump's behalf. But he feels untouchable because our media is literally sitting on a leak that they got months ago that could completely tank Trump's campaign, which is already pretty much tanking itself. But I remember in 2015, 2016, those Protesti email leaks, the WikiLeaks that y'all salivated and literally creamed yourself for. But oh no, let's sit on a potential wannabe dictator's damning stuff. The fourth estate is not our friend, y'all. Unless you are dealing with independent news people now, you need to understand that they want this to be a horse race. They want this to be dirty because it gets us clicking. They want to spread fear because it keeps us watching. And we have got to learn when to turn them off, shut them off, and especially when they promote opinions as facts, to just ignore the fourth estate's bullshit. But we're going to get to a topic that Pix brought up to me last night as I was drafting some show notes. Because I've been following Now This for a minute and other publications on Now Impact, Now This Impact, and Now This. There's a lot of people that I follow who have done independent work on YouTube, on social media places, wherever I can find information for people who are not directly tied to major news networks, I tend to gravitate. And this was a topic that has come up way before 2024. And it's because it is seriously mind-boggling that in the year 2024, we still have women that are going through this. But when you look at how they're indoctrinated from almost birth to just accept that their place is behind their husbands, that their voice shouldn't raise above, and that their rights are negligible, it's not that hard to see. So they covered these people who literally tweeted this out, and their response was, what happens in the voting booth is between you and nobody. Because there were several women that said this. Can my husband find out who I'm voting for in the presidential election? We've been getting these questions a lot, so we rounded up some helpful facts. And Olivia gave a bunch of good facts on this. So I'm going to weigh in on and expand on the fact that when you're in the voting booth, unless they are standing right next to you, which they really shouldn't be, nobody has the right to tell you who you should vote for, and it can be completely anonymous unless you flash who you voted for once you leave that booth. Because a lot of people still use paper booths, and a lot of people don't trust the electronic booths. We do our mail-in ballots. And as somebody who is married to a man who considers himself still a conservative Christian, now more leaning towards an independent Christian, I know I've never been pressured away from my liberal stances by him. Because we were friends for over 20 years before we got together. And he understood that Tim might hear your side, but Tim is not going to change a point of view when it doesn't coincide with my rights and my right to live. And over the years, he went from really hard line stances and things to understanding that I don't really hate people that are different than me. I might not understand or always agree with their lifestyles, but it's not my business. And it wouldn't be right calling myself a Christian that loves and wants people to understand the word to make enemies out of people who are different than I am. It's one of the things that drew me to him. His willingness to hear things out and be open. His willingness to stand by certain things that he cares about and uplift people. And that is why it irks me when people utilize their faith to quell people's voices, especially women's voices. Because they think that we're supposed to be behind you and not next to you, uplifting all of us. And it got to stop. Because when you have these hierarchies, and you have these circles of being afraid to even vary just a little bit, it causes anxiety. It causes mental health issues. It causes tension because you don't want to look like you're not a part of the bunch. You might have family members who are different than you, but you got to stand in line. You got to be a proper foot soldier for fuckery because hate is just a low-hanging tasted fruit. It's frustrating. It's sad that women have to say this, but I'm telling you right now, if you have an absentee ballot, get it mailed to you, or a mail-in ballot, get it mailed to you, fill it out in secret if you have to. It's sad to say that there is a large demographic who have literally been gatekeepers for this shit for way too long, finally understanding, especially after Dobbs was repealed, that our rights are not sacred. No matter how much Project 2025 talks about how they'll open symposiums on women's rights. They'll open symposiums on our reproductive stuff. They don't give a fuck about our reproductive stuff, only to use it as a weapon against us. So what we have to do as women voters, whether we're cisgendered, whether we're lesbians, whether we're trans sisters, we have to use the voice that they want to take from us in November and beyond. We cannot stay in fear because we need to fear what could happen if the other side wins more than what our spouse is. If you're married to a spouse that really scares you that much, I feel for you, because I'm voting for your freedom from that. Because with Project 2025, you would be stuck to that no matter what. Even if they hit you, even if they scream at you and hurt you while you're pregnant, like some of your faves. Looking at you, Mr. Crowder. They want you to be little handmaidens, not realizing that in that story, Miss Atwood showed that it was not a paradise for you either. And many of you died too. We have to form a real sisterhood of inclusivity. Non-gatekeeping, like the fuck shit I seen earlier, this GOP handmaiden talking about. Well, I don't think it's right to assume that somebody that came in as a stepmother to teens is a mother. You realize how many teens got tossed out of their parents' house just for trying to be who they are, their identity, and had to be taken in by other mothers? You realize how many blended families exist in America? So your little attack on who gets to be a mother, the gatekeeping of it, that's not going to help your campaign. Just like J.D. Vance is deciding to gatekeep parenthood and tell childless cat moms that they are just deranged and everything else. Won't defend his wife, who defends his awful words against cat moms, against racism. We are tired of your bullshit, because the war has always been against women or the female form in any shape. And we're sick of it. You want to be a misogynistic asshole, do it in your own circles, but you don't need to be leading us. Because women are always going to be here, and we need to be a big part of the future if we are going to have a future. And I'm just tired of seeing us capitulate to hate. But we're going to get to some lighter things before we wrap this up. This is a short clip of Jon Steward talking about how 45 just seemingly laments that Biden is not going to be his opponent. It's almost like a WWE soap opera at this point for Trump, when the rest of us just wanted a steady election.
On this program, occasionally, we do make fun of Donald Trump. Occasionally.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
And with the ribbing and the joshing and the pulling the pants down and the pointing, he's in pain right now.
I mean, Stormy Daniels did drop stuff.
Multiple sources tell the Washington Post Trump has grown increasingly upset about Harris's surging poll numbers.
Posting multiple times on social media, clearly frustrated with Biden's decision to step aside, saying, quote, "Now we have to start all over again."
Not fair! A month ago, he was basically already the president.
Not really. Why do you keep interrupting CNN?
I don't think Trump has got it in him to go after Kamala Harris. He's been fighting Joe Biden for 6 years. It's all he knows.
Yep.
He misses the fight so much. He was still workshopping nicknames for Joe Biden this weekend.
What do you like better? It doesn't matter anymore, but what do you like better, Crooked Joe or Sleepy Joe? Sleepy Joe.
And that was another thing. Whoever planned that rally with the "You're fired" signs behind Trump, I guess they got cheap and they decided to cut the Biden part off the top or whatnot. But all it looked like was the people behind him telling him that he was fired. This campaign has been a complete shit show, and I love it because it's hilarious for us. But I couldn't believe that anybody running this campaign didn't realize to check the optics of this.
This is sad. He would give us everything for just one more moment. With Crooked Joe.
He's going to make a comeback at the Democrat convention. He's going to walk into the room and he's going to say, "I want my presidency back."
No, he's not. No, he's not. Not at all.
He's not coming back.
Thank you. Hey, Dano Boo.
I know. He's not coming back. We have a camera on him. That's him.
Just chilling at the beach.
He's just sitting there at the beach sighing over the waves. Does this look like a man marshaling his forces to take back the nomination, or filming a Corona commercial?
Exactly. And that's why I said Trump really thought that this was going to be a repeat of 2020, even though, FYI, you lost then. And a lot of us who lost family to COVID remember, and we will remember in November, the 6th of November. We're never going to forget what you did to us during your 4 years of terror. So I don't think so, Trump. Everybody wants to point to that debate. And there was a whole ass Game of Thrones with politicians that we loved and respected that thought they were not only going to get rid of President Biden, but take VP Harris with them. And didn't realize how electrifying and momentous this campaign has been. Essence did an amazing piece. Let me see if I can pull that up before we get to some Dark Brandon. There's my spoutable. Let's get the old Twitters up and interact. They do love using Christianity as a shield. I'm probably going to talk about that more on Friday, because I got some words for these so-called faithful. But I want to get to that Essence tweet if I can before I end it with some Dark Brandon. Because I don't think people understand how momentous and historic this is. I know some people want to think about how Barack Obama's election felt. And I won't lie. It was good. It was a good feeling at first. And even though my family, like a lot of black Democrats, were initially pushing for Hillary Clinton then too, when he won that nomination, we went from who is that to yes we can. And we did not regret that decision. So when I say that this Essence cover, if it lets me get to it, fuck, come on. OBS, you need to help me out with these scroll things because your scroll bar don't work. And I am getting annoyed. Come on. I don't want that post. Give me a minute, y'all. I'm going to find that Essence thing because, you know, it was poignant, their coverage of it. They're really trying to block me on this. Alright, fine. Let me go to Essence. Y'all think you're slick, but I am very stubborn. Oh, not soul essence. Actual essence. What the fuck? Wow, I really, really, truly hate Twitter. I do. I fucking hate Twitter. I'm gonna get every freaking Twitter stripper instead of actual Essence magazine. What's the point of this? Hello? Essence. There we go. Because too many people don't realize what this means to us. Now you see it's their picture of VP Harris, and it says, in this pivotal election, black women everywhere for the first time see a reflection of our grandmother's dreams as commander-in-chief. And like I said, I tweeted out how at 6 my grandmother had me going voting with her, taking me to do volunteer work with the polls, because she knew the importance of using our civic voices. And it drives me up a wall that there are people that throw away their voice in our country because, oh, it's not going to matter. My grandmother Ellis said it. Vote because they don't want us to have this, and they would take it from us if we let them. Because she was alive during a time where women's voices did not have sway. She had mothers who had a mother who grew up without the right to vote at all. And the suffragettes didn't even want them to have the right to vote, but still fought for women's rights to vote. Hey, Foodie Beauty, honey. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I think you told me that you were that Nobu, either in FFG's chat or one of these chats. I just figured I'd call you by the name that I see, because I don't want people thinking that Chantel's in my thing and people get it twisted, forgetting that Chantel literally gave up the name and y'all swiped it. But it's okay. I'm glad to see you, and thank you for listening. And I know you're sleepy. We're about to wrap it up. We only got about 5 more minutes. But this moment isn't just about casting a ballot. It's about claiming our space, our rights, and our future. This isn't lost on Vice President Kamala Harris. She knows where she stands, firmly at the intersection of freedom and power. We're not just voting, we're shaping a legacy of freedom for generations to come. The stakes are high, but so is her spirit. In a special chief-to-chief interview filmed at the 30th Essence Festival, Culture of Essence, Venture CEO and President Carolyn Wanga sat down with Vice President Kamala Harris to discuss what inspired her to enter politics, her plans as president, and the potential impact of the upcoming election on everybody. This is our special collector's edition, September, October. I'm getting that magazine, and it's beautiful. And I'm not going to try to knock the other magazine that photographed her before, but Anna Wintour, get a better photographer, because I know you're going to want to cover her when she becomes president. And this is what she needs to look like. Radiant, joyful, the warrior that she is. This election means so much to so many of us who never felt seen or heard. It's not just a black community. Because need I remind you, VB Harris has Caribbean ties. She has Southeast Asian ties. She represents those of us who always felt voiceless in our own damn country. And this ticket is historical because she didn't leave white people behind either. With getting Tim Walz, who's from the Midwest, who's military, who cared as a teacher, who cared as a volunteer, who did right by Minnesota. She's saying we don't need anything but diversity in our administration to lift everybody up. But if you're one of those hateful soldiers for fuckery, of course you don't want this ticket. Of course you'd rather just be hateful because it feels good to feel better than somebody even when you're not. And I'm telling you right now, I am for VP Harris. My whole house is for VP Harris. Even though we have relatives that aren't, sadly. They can't give up their ties. They believe that they have a moral right to shut things down, and they're more of a danger to us than they know. But we can't let them lead the charge. But let me open up some dark branding because I don't want to leave on a bad thing. No, that's not it. Let me see. Yep, here we go. We're going to leave on some dark branding because I love this animation. I think that this is going to be a campaign of digital stuff. And that is all hands on deck. And there are going to be so many influential content creators that use our voices and platforms to show why it matters. As you can see, I got my little new icon up there, pics. I love it. But I definitely want you, I don't know if it's not registering my likes or not. I want you to watch this never-ending saga of J.D. Vance because he was not a good pick. And I'm hoping for Annie Leibovitz too. I'm going to be highlighting closer to November a lot of Senate, House, and local elections. I have Ballotpedia for gathering. I'm going to clip interviews and stuff because we have to be on board for every election at every level at this point. So let's get this fired up.
Okay. It's bad.
Well, like, how bad?
It's really bad.
Like, really, really bad? Like,
yeah,
worse
press
than the drag queen photos?
Wow. Yeah, yes. I called those out.
They found his YouTube channel where he provides makeup tutorials.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to JD's makeup tutorial on this YouTube channel. I like to do makeup tutorials and talk about non-binary issues and just a real safe space for us to come and just be ourselves, you know? And so today I wanted to teach you guys how to do a killer cat eye with some liquid eyeliner. You know, I like to call the look stolen valor. So, let's begin. I like to talk while I do my makeup. And, you know, one of the things that
I left the beauty community alone on YouTube. They were some vicious bitches.
Of minorities. And one of those groups, minorities, surprisingly, is the LGBTQ. They only make up 7% of the population based on a 2022 Gallup.
Now, I did know, honey. I wasn't sure if you wanted that outed either. There's a lot of people I know that change names and stuff that just don't want to deal with trolls. So I always try to respect that. And I just appreciate you being here.
Discriminations are still legal against the LGBTQ.
And I've seen you get pushback against the Fruity Beauty name, and I'm like, that's not Chantal.
LGBTQ people from discrimination in employment, housing, and public accommodations. Now, that ain't right. We need to do better, folks.
Wow.
So there we go, fierce. And speaking of fierce, we need to fiercely defend the rights of our LGBTQ folks. Let's do this together, folks. And remember, practice makes perfect with eyeliner. And practice makes progress with accepting and supporting all people. Until next time, stay fabulous.
And that was some dark Brandon. And I know that somebody who followed me thought I was mocking cross-dressed, or even worse, thought I was coming out against J.D. Vance potentially in the past flirting with being transgender. No. If he wasn't such a cosplay phony, if he wasn't such a social climate carpetbagger, I wouldn't care. Do you? I want a society where people can feel confident in who they are. But J.D. Vance went from being pro dressing up a certain way and being pro LGBTQ+ to finding that being MAGA and being right-wing was more lucrative for him. Those people listen to him. They'll believe his hillbilly elegy, even though he wasn't a fucking hillbilly. Because he could sell the hate that they feast upon. All the while, all the stuff that he has done since he was young has come out. And it just shows that he's a fake and he's a phony. And it's just tiring to have to argue with people, so we're not. We just call him a couch lover and keep it pushing. Because like I said, I didn't come back to play nice. I came back to win. But I'm going to wrap this up, y'all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the bits, Bay Nobu. I have got to fix the sound alerts on this new system by Friday, because it used to play music when bits went across. But I'll have that all together by Friday. There's a lot of programs and stuff that I got to add on to my husband's laptop now to make stuff the way it used to be on the Bonnet Chronicles. And hopefully there won't be any more hiatuses for a bit either. But like I said, I put my mental out first. I hope you all have a lovely evening. I hope you have a good rest if you're going to go rest. I will be back on Friday with another one of these. And then on Saturday with the Calling Out the Heifer series, the Saturday Bonnet Lives. Thank you, Pix, for sitting in. Thank you, Bay Nobu / Fruity Beauty for sitting in. Thank you, everybody who lurks and replays this on YouTube when I upload it. I appreciate you all. And I will see you all soon.